Welcome to Vitals, the podcast brought to you by Cloudcast Media. My name is Maria Thacker-Gothi, and I'm President and CEO of the Association Georgia Life Sciences. And I'm so excited to have our first guest of this new series and for this great new podcast out of Georgia, John Crowley, the President and CEO of the Biotechnology Innovation Organization. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
No, Maria,
today,
thank
John.
you. And thank you for having me here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And always great to see you and the great work going on all over Georgia.
Definitely.
In life sciences.
Well,
I know we'll get into it, but it's kind of the heart and soul of biotechnology.
Yes, all emerging small companies. And
Yes.
we have such a great innovation ecosystem and some amazing universities. But you have such a well-known story, and we heard it during the summit. Really well known in biotech circles, but many in our audience have never heard your story. And we really want to know what drives your work on behalf of industry and behalf of patients. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your amazing story to help ground our conversation as to what your why is?
Yeah, we came into the whole world of science and medicine, Maria, more than 25 years ago in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
We were married a few years. We had our second and then third child. And it was after graduate school. I grew up in New Jersey. My dad was a cop in North Jersey and was blessed to go to some great schools and finally starting out in a business career. And then life changes, as it does for so many of us when you have a diagnosis, right?
Yep.
Great big word.
Those curveballs.
It is this, we literally had a plan and this was not the plan. And it never is.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the lessons we've learned. And what we learned was that our then 1-year-old daughter, Megan, was not hitting her milestones, not pulling up in the crib, walking, incredibly bright.
Mm-hmm.
But, we start going from pediatrician to neurologist and various tests all the way to a deep muscle biopsy. And we knew something was not right with Megan's muscles. We just didn't know what. Our greatest fear was that a doctor would tell us she'll never walk. Well, it was a lot worse than that. And when Megan was 15 months old, after months of testing, we had the meeting with the neurologist, and we found out that Megan had this rare form of muscular dystrophy that we'd never heard of, and there's no history in our family, a disease called Pompe disease. Any one of us are carriers for maybe a dozen or so on average human genetic diseases, but not until you oftentimes make a baby with somebody else who's a carrier, and even then in a disease like Pompe, just a 1 in 4 chance that Megan would inherit both bad copies of a gene. And he told us they were seeing a sticky form of sugar called glycogen building up in her muscles, her skeletal muscles, her breathing muscles, her heart. And he said it's very serious, and she won't live to be a couple of years old. She'll get very sick very quickly. And that Patrick, who was with us at that appointment, who was 7 days old, that he would need to be tested because he had a 25% chance as well. And so you go through a lot of emotion, right? You go through there's a very quiet, sad car ride back home from the hospital. And you're in shock. You're almost starting a grieving process, not even knowing what you're grieving for yet. And, denial, anger, and we settled on determination. Determined first to learn everything we could about this rare disease, and then finally determined to meet anybody who knew anything about it. And that started us, literally the next day went to a library, checked out about 20 books. I didn't know anything. I was so bad at science and when I was a student at the Naval Academy, I got a 19 on my organic chemistry final out of 100.
You signed up for the class. It's better than a lot of people.
Oh, no, not at the Naval Academy.
I
was told to take this class.
In
fact, I was almost told to take it twice.
No.
But look, I realized I had to learn, as much as I could about this to try to find some hope. Mm-hmm. And we did. We found a couple of researchers, one in Europe, 2 in the United States, doing some early stage research on this disease. So for a while, as Megan did get sicker and then Patrick as well, in the course of that first year, they went from pretty healthy, normal kids to being in wheelchairs, on ventilators, lots of time in the hospital over that year. And we realized by that time we knew what this mistake of nature was. We knew what the genetics were, the biology of the disease. We had an idea of how you could treat it. If you could in a laboratory, make an enzyme that they were missing, you could replace their natural enzyme, break down this glycogen, muscles get stronger, particularly in kids, and everything would be fine. Sounds great in theory.
Sounds so easy.
It was not.
Yeah.
And we also realized, though, that we had to beat time. And that's such an important lesson for us many years later that, yes, you need incredible researchers, physicians, nurses, doctors, technology, biotechnology. but you need to do it fast. And time is so important. We saw that during COVID,
Yeah.
right? We needed these vaccines, these therapies. We needed them fast, and we needed them for everybody. And that's the perspective that I brought to medicine. Now, the good news is we were able to develop a medicine that saved our kids' lives. They were older when they got the medicine, about 4 and 5 years old, respectively. So they were, again, in wheelchairs on ventilators. But Megan was in kindergarten, normal mainstreamed kindergarten, except in a wheelchair on a ventilator with a nurse or my wife by her side. And now where they are today, having developed now a second generation medicine in biotech, Megan is 28, Patrick is 27. Megan went to the University of Notre Dame, double majored, and finished in 4 years. And she went on to earn a master's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, in social work. Wow. She's a social worker with the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Which is great. She was a Wish kid in 2001.
Oh, that's so cool.
So she can talk about...
That's a great story, too.
Yeah, talk about life. We could do a whole other podcast on the joy and the beauty of Make-A-Wish.
Oh, yeah.
So she kind of gives back in that way now. My son Patrick works in a flower shop for a number of years. All kids are different, and they pursue their passions differently. We actually have an older son with high-functioning autism. John's 30 now. He actually married one of Megan's nurses who moved in with us.
Oh my gosh!
During COVID,
story, yeah.
John, he made his way through school and college, but just socially awkward. Never had a girlfriend. Always wanted one. And after about 6 months of hiking and watching movies, and we noticed they were sitting in increasingly close on the couch, and they ended up getting married. And now we have 2 beautiful grandchildren as well. So not the way we laid out life 30 years ago, but still beautiful.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And it's, I have an 8-year-old daughter who's 8 going on 16, but it's just one of those.
She grows up, it doesn't get easier.
That's what I'm realizing.
And it does not get cheaper. I assure you that.
I know that. My husband's noticed that too. But it's just, you have these plans, I think parents get in their heads, and I always have to remind myself the best laid plans and those life curveballs that get thrown at you. But it's amazing how you've taken this very initially traumatic and shocking, horrible news, and just really taking into action, of course, for your own family and for your kids, but now applying it into your job here, advocating for biotechnology and for patients, really. So, and you've been at Bio now for 1.5 years. And so what do you really see as the most important way to really unleash U.S. biotech? Is it science, policy, more capital? Why?
Probably all the above.
Yeah, awesome.
And, again, we try to prioritize the challenges, the threats, and the opportunities, just like we would in running a business. And having for more than 20 years started and run biotech companies, I could bring that kind of business mindset to it, but realize this isn't a business. So those principles apply. When we look at where we are, it's, again, a tale of 2 cities. We've never had more technologies, more excitement, more opportunities, not just for what we can do in the future, for what we're already doing.
Yeah.
The example of cystic fibrosis, that was an absolute death sentence. Kids in the 80s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, average life expectancy was into the teens.
Yeah.
20 plus years later, it didn't change a lot into the early to mid 20s with some palliative care and therapies. But finally, those breakthroughs, the risks that were taken in academic research, partnering with a patient foundation, with a biotech company that had its share of ups and downs for 20 plus years, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, and what they've done now to transform the landscape in cystic fibrosis, where for most all patients now diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, the life expectancy in these last 10 to 15 years has gone from 25 years old to 68, That's 69 amazing. Years. And in the next few years, we think it'll be a normal life expectancy. So it's happening today. Gene editing, CAR T therapies, the miracle after miracle, medical miracles are happening. We just need a lot more of it.
Yeah.
So we need a lot of policies. We need to stop the bad ideas. We need people to realize the importance of biotechnology. I often tell people, Maria, when policymakers, lawmakers, people in the White House ask, why should we care about biotech? I said, you need to care for 3 reasons. You need to care about biotechnology for the public health, to make newer and better medicines, to extend and enhance life, to deliver these medical miracles. You need to care about it also as an engine of economic growth. You see what it's done in Georgia, and it will continue to do. This is an incredibly important industry, and if this is the century of biology, we need to lead in this century. And thirdly, you need to care for our national security. You know, the notion that a healthy and prosperous workforce and population is vital to our nation's security, and that our leading in biotechnology, together with our allies around the world, will lead to a better, healthier, safer, more prosperous place, show what free and democratic societies can do. And so those are the most important reasons that we need to lead in biotech. And to a person, bipartisan, Democrat, Republican, legislator, executive branch, they get it.
Yeah.
And now we just need to, some of these ideas, we need to stop a lot of these bad ideas, promote good ideas, and just, and frame everything in this lens. Is it helping us make better medicines and helping us make them for more people faster? Is it growing our economy, creating new job opportunities? And is it advancing our national security? You look at every idea that comes up, look at it through those lenses, and the answers are pretty clear.
Yeah, and I think one thing you've heard, and I've heard you say is biotech's hope. You heard that from somebody else. Yeah,
it's a great big word, biotechnology, that means hope.
Yep.
You know, when we came into the world of rare diseases, we never expected. You know, the mom diagnosed with breast cancer, the dad diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Yep.
It was never part of the plan. It's always the shock. It's, wait a second, this doesn't happen to us. It happens to other people.
Yeah, but where did they turn? They turn to biotech. They turn to our industry for solutions.
That's the hope.
That is the hope. But unfortunately, people in our position also have to face the reality that in order to get those treatments and cures to people, it takes relationship building, working with policymakers. And it takes time and science. So I think, you know, we sit in roles where we're advocating and we're educating these leaders that are really trying to bring that hope to bear to families and to patients. So
it takes the advocacy, takes the storytelling, takes it at the grassroots level, the local community level. You know, just like all politics is local, all biotech is local.
Yes. No,
everybody wants biotech to succeed. We just need to tell them how, or tell them how not to do it.
Yeah.
And that's just to kind of advance this circle of, virtuous circle of innovation.
Yes.
The academic research, the NIH, the startup companies, the larger companies, the consultants, advisors, lawyers, everything that it takes to go around that circle and to make a better medicine. Rarely a cure, right? Rarely do you have that silver bullet. Hey, we're done. Let's move on to the next disease.
Therapies can change lives.
But it gives people time. And it gives them time with the people they love, quality of life. And it gives all of us in this ecosystem as innovators a chance to continue on, to go back to the drawing board and think, what do we do next? How do we do it better? But doing all of that is necessary, but still not sufficient. We also need to ensure access.
Yes.
Access to medicine.
Yes, and access is critical, and it's really exciting seeing all these, on the medical device side, wearables and ways to gather data and dive into that. And I think that's another tool that we're going to be harnessing even more in our industry as technology continues to move forward. And I want to pivot a little bit into asking you about AI and machine learning. And I don't think either of us have a strong depth in the technical aspect of this, but
I could spell AI.
Yeah, there you go. So where can these technologies most credibly compress time in the development pipeline? And what evidence or examples have you seen that make you optimistic?
Yeah, it is here. And I've seen some incredible demonstration models, things that were described to me just 2 years ago that are happening today. And the notion that, well, AI in 5, 10, 20 years is really going to change medicine and drug development. No, it's going to change it in the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think in very, very positive ways. You look at the practice of medicine, what you're already seeing is AI in the physician offices. The things that they used to have to do, the note-taking, the coding, the administrative work, it's improving the efficiency of physicians, healthcare providers, which gives them a chance to see more patients, spend more time on the quality of medical care. It's also good for their business models as well. So just bringing in that productivity as well. I think eventually, and we're starting to see some good models of this too, it'll come into the diagnosis. I don't think it'll ever replace the physician, but it will complement the physician. You see it certainly in radiology and areas like that. In drug development, I think it has such profound potential. We can see it in the creation of molecules. We can see it really in the understanding of complex biological systems. Take something like autism. So my son, I have no idea what his genetics of autism are. Nobody knows right now. I'm pretty confident that AI will help us digest these
Sure.
incredibly complex biological
Wow.
systems. We'll see it in autoimmune diseases. I think there's great, great potential there, which will help women's healthcare. You know, knowing that the vast majority of people suffering with autoimmune diseases are women, and we don't have enough answers and tools in medicines. So I think that that'll be an incredibly important tool, AI there. I think you'll also see it in the clinical trial space.
Yep.
We spend so much time bringing our expertise, our judgment really, to how many clinical sites do we need, what's the inclusion and exclusion criteria, who's going to help get us an answer, more clear answer in the clinic, faster, give us that certainty.
Recruiting
Enrollment,
patients.
yes, patients, all of that.
Yeah.
So it'll bring those efficiencies to bear, because right now it's an art, it's not a science, clinical research. And then in the regulatory review and approval process, how much, you submit your BLA, your MIA, or your marketing authorization, it's oftentimes millions of pages.
Yeah.
Well, somebody has to review that.
Yeah.
And whether it's your preclinical toxicology, your CMC, I think AI can make that faster, more efficient, more objective. And then you can really free FDA resources to do exactly what we need of physician scientists, to look at clinical data, to look at the entire submission and make an assessment, therapeutic area by therapeutic area, molecule by molecule. Do the benefits outweigh the risks?
Yeah, and any way to shorten that 20-year timeline from bench to bedside
it doesn't work.
is a
that
positive
model
thing.
doesn't work. Even if it's by 20, 30%, that's massive.
Yeah, COVID was an exception to the rule, but that was a extraordinarily unique situation.
But there are some good lessons to that, right? So we can take some of those warp speed lessons, the notion that we're going to, take measured risks. We're not lowering the gold standard of safety and efficacy, but we're looking at it again, unique to this disease, unique to the suffering and death, and what can we do?
And I think that hits home for both of us, particularly with my rare disease background with my father and yours. It's those patients, and when you're looking at orphan drugs, it's particularly great. Time is
precious.
Yes,
Time is precious.
It really is. Every day
I think there's a lot of potential for AI.
Yeah, but what about the guardrails around it? And this can be a loaded question, but do you think what types of guardrails, IP, data integrity, privacy, safety, all of that, do you think we really need so that AI accelerates discovery, but without eroding trust? And I'd love your thoughts on that. I kind of feel like it's an evolving space, particularly with the current administration. They're very supportive of AI, but how's that going to impact our industry and the regulatory framework we work under?
I think you need to be guided by basic principles, ethical principles of what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. We just went through this in gene editing, where we determined this has incredible potential to solve diseases, particularly rare genetic diseases, but cancers and others. But what are we not going to use it for, right? We're not going to use it to try to make people taller or faster or smarter, kind of improve the human condition in that way. But we're going to use it to address disease. And I think, there will be mistakes. There will be bad actors. And I think we need ways of calling that out. And that's part of what we need to do as an industry group, to be able to call out some of those bad actors. But if you put too many guardrails on a powerful technology like AI, and you err on the side of being too conservative, I think you will have come to regret that. And by the way, we'll also lose the competitive global AI race.
Definitely.
So I think we will have a good moral framework for how we utilize this. That's my hope.
And I do think that because we work in such a regulated industry, we're going to be even more intentional about those guardrails and more thoughtful about where we're applying AI throughout the process.
And it's not AI in a vacuum, right? We're seeing the convergence of technology, particularly AI, with biology, with mechanical systems. It's going to change the face of mankind.
Wow. Well, I won't lie. It makes my life a lot easier reviewing bills when I just can throw in a bill that the house has put together or something to say, give me a summary on this. So it makes things a lot easier for me. So people, including yourself, you call the 21st century the biotechnology century. Practically, what does that mean for how we develop, regulate, and really pay for innovation?
So I think, if you look at the past revolutions that we've had, you look at the Industrial Revolution, you look at the digital revolution, the tech revolution, and now what we're able to do with biology. Again, coming back to take a disease like Alzheimer's. Part of what we need to do there is to understand the workings of the human mind. Maybe even consciousness itself. And that's a tall order, but we have to do it. And so with that, again, I'm particularly excited about what we can do in the future. You look again at some of these brain disorders, you look at rare brain diseases in children, you look at how much unmet need there still is in cancer. Taking all that together, that's where I think this will be an age of biology to improve the human condition, to extend, enhance life, but also to realize how do we use biology and biotechnology in other ways, in biomaterials, in ways that can improve their environment, agriculture, animal health. That's the kind of the broad umbrella of biotechnology.
We're
And I
a
know
big
there's
ag state in Georgia,
a lot of
so-
work you do here in Georgia.
Yeah, we
is
have
in-
some
in-
amazing industrial biotech facilities out in Augusta, actually.
It is. So that's where I think in the big umbrella of biotech to realize that it is changing and will continue to change.
And as we,
the way we live, work,
Yeah.
where we work.
how we eat even. I mean, look at
Absolutely.
the microbiome and all that integrating into medicine.
Yeah,
and all
sometimes
that.
we tend to
That's
be
such a-
overwhelmed with information.
Yes.
About all of this.
We're not short of information in our industry.
No, trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah. Well, let's dive a little bit into capital. We talked about it earlier, and it's been tight this year, particularly the last 6 months, and it really has to do with uncertainty, as you've mentioned before. What public, private, or federal mechanisms like matching funds, advanced market commitments could help stabilize early R&D, in your opinion?
There could be capital formation. We believe there are capital formation tools that will advance money flowing into the industry. We think there's a lot of opportunity in biomanufacturing. I know that's an important part of this ecosystem here in Georgia. So I think you will start to see more incentives, programs, matching dollars, tax credits, tax deductions. We've certainly seen now with the big, beautiful bill, we've seen the acceleration of R&D, deductibility of expenses, including manufacturing. There's some really positive aspects of what was in the bill in that regard as well. In terms of our kind of the bread and butter, the startup companies, the therapeutic companies, you'll see some, but I tell people the answer isn't going to be, we're not getting government funding, we don't want it. We're not going to get a CHIPS Act for biotech, we don't want it or need it. But we need a better ecosystem. For me, the most important thing, if we can reduce the time that it takes to go from an idea to a molecule to an approved medicine, if we can reduce thereby the cost, if we could bring certainty to the regulatory process and consistency, the cost of capital will drop dramatically. And then it's a math exercise. As the cost of capital drops, you'll start to see generalist investors coming back. You'll start to see VCs spreading the money across many, many new technologies, therapeutic areas,
we're seeing
states.
some creativity coming out of some of the VCs
I think
and family
the worst,
offices.
Yes, the worst is behind us. I think new pools of capital, family offices, sovereign wealth funds, something we're developing and championing at Bio. We just established a center of excellence at Bio this summer for emerging companies and economic growth. How can we provide tool sets for them to understand what it takes to put a startup biotech company together and how to navigate some of the challenges and pitfalls and getting capital to come back in. I think ultimately you've got to see that transformational shift in what it takes to make medicines, the clinical trial paradigm and the FDA review and approval paradigm.
And that's where Bio is spending a lot of its time, is the FDA.
Incredibly high priorities for me, for the Bio team.
To really shorten that timeline and create a more, 21st century FDA.
21st century, a modernized FDA.
FDA.
And we don't say that in jest, right? I mean, we largely do our clinical studies the way we did 30, 40, 50 years ago. The whole notion of the randomized, controlled, double-blind, placebo-controlled study, and by the way, maybe do 2 or 3 of them along the way, and it takes 10, 15 years to develop a drug, maybe $1 billion. And if you run the whole gauntlet, by the way, it's also now increasingly challenging for how do you get paid for your hard work and inventions and risk-taking. So all the elements of that system is what we try to advance, and why taking this role was important for me.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I'm going to be a little selfish here and talk about our ecosystem and get your advice for us. You visit many biotech hubs. You're on the road a lot.
I do. Bio on the American road.
Yes, exactly. We have to get you in Georgia at some point to do that.
We will.
But maybe under the future administration in Georgia, whoever that may be.
You tell me.
What are the non-negotiable building blocks of a successful state ecosystem as you see them and where you sit? And do you think Georgia's strong? And where do we need to level up? And I realize you're not terribly familiar with Georgia, but any guesses I'll take.
Yeah, you look at other areas that have done it well. And the common threads that they have, they're very purposeful.
Yep.
They say, we want a vibrant life science industry in our state. So this becomes an imperative and across administrations. This isn't just one administration. So I think that's important. I think taking the long-term horizon, being purposeful, investing first and foremost in your workforce. And you can't invest or tout programs in your workforce when a big pharma company puts out a request for proposal. You've got to do that years in advance.
Yep.
You also need to invest in the workforce from, I've said our high school STEM programs to vocational training, community colleges, up to the great universities. And you've got tremendous universities here in Georgia, which is a competitive advantage.
It is.
But in talking earlier, you'd mentioned that there are some programs now, even down to the elementary school level. Because if you lose a kid, they don't have interest in science in elementary school, it's increasingly unlikely that in high school they decide, God, I love chemistry.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't decide that in college, so...
it was more forced on you at that point.
It was more forced. But it's that workforce part of it,
Yeah.
and taking the long horizon, the being purposeful and investing.
Yeah.
That, and you need, you have a very strong pro-business environment here in Georgia, which is very, very good. You've got a very much an entrepreneurship culture, and I think that will inure to your benefit as well.
I think we need to find ways to keep them here, though, as they grow, particularly in our industry.
That is the challenge.
That is
You've
a
got
challenge.
so many great universities that are, these students are looking to go to, in biotech, they're looking to go to the Bostons, the San Franciscos, San Diegos, and many of them will, and that's great for the environment and the broad ecosystem. But how do you keep a sufficient number of them here in Georgia?
Yeah. It's the constant question we are working on, and we're working through that with our roadmap that I mentioned in my opening remarks at the summit. But I'm going to push you when you said a little bit on this, and we can cut it out. But I'm going to push you on one thing. You said they've been very intentional about investing in biotech. Who is the they? Would you say? Is it state government, public sector, I would say? Is it a collaborative effort?
I think by and large this has been driven at the state level, sometimes at the local level as well. You look at what Virginia's been doing under Glenn Youngkin.
Okay.
You look at, he's divided the state into, they don't call it the research triangle, as they did in
they've
North
branded
Carolina.
it something, yeah.
Very clever, the research quadrangle or something like that.
Yeah.
4 areas, and where do they invest, and how do they invest? You look over the years when Deval Patrick was governor of Massachusetts, what Governor Patrick did, the Biotech Innovation Fund that they have, has just been reauthorized by the state legislature there. And again, once you start to build that, you get those early successes, you create that ecosystem, even in an early stage.
Yeah.
And I was in Cambridge, Massachusetts with Genzyme almost 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw the early days of biotech, and
Cambridge did not look like it then the way it does now.
The seaport didn't exist. And so yes, you need all of that. You need the permitting work, you need the local regulators, be they environmental building permits, anything that will reduce cost of capital and convince people to build in these states and to stay in these states.
Yeah, no, it's really important, and I'll do a selfish plug. We worked with MassBio, our counterpart up in Massachusetts.
Sure, Kendall's great. Yep.
Kendall's great, and just take it back to the CF story. Bobby Coughlin, I don't know if you knew Bob.
I know Bob very well.
Yes, so he's a mentor to me in my role because he was doing it for forever.
See what his son Bobby was
I follow Bobby's story very closely, and it's an amazing story. I also know the story behind his why his yacht's named this, was it 65 Roses, because they couldn't say cystic fibrosis.
Yes.
I don't know if I told you that. So, but we worked with Kendall and her team to take their BioReady designation for municipalities. So we've applied it here in Georgia.
Oh, good.
It's been really eye-opening
there's no reason
for our
not to.
ecosystem. Yeah,
While
it's
there's
been helpful.
competitiveness between states or among states,
Yeah, it's great.
there is an abundance of opportunities to go around. And now that you're seeing, we have several $100 billion in commitments for new biopharmaceutical manufacturing plants in the United States. You're going to see this incredible renaissance of biomanufacturing here. And you can't do it all in one state.
Yeah, and I will just say on that, one thing we do, because we do a lot of workforce at our organization, the stigma that comes with manufacturing and getting people to get over that, which I think really comes from past generations, decades ago, and understanding that's something we have to deal with. And it is.
Take them to one plant. Take them to
totally
a
agree.
new startup plant.
Yes, completely agree.
Take them to Ireland.
Yeah.
And look what Ireland did to transform
They've
its
done
economy,
amazing
its workforce, its standard of living.
Yep, they do actually have some the certification and a curriculum that is outstanding out of Ireland in this space. But
yes, they do.
It's really impressive to see to be able to go, when we go into classrooms and talk about careers in biotech and in life sciences, it is the highest paying industry in the state of Georgia and in most states.
Yes.
And fastest growing in our state. So we have a huge need here, and we have to get people excited about the industry, along with continuing to create awareness. We do have a lot of awareness issues with filling those gaps around workforce. But thanks for sharing your ideas around and suggestions and just knowledge on biotech hubs as we build this roadmap here at Georgia Life Sciences on behalf of the community. You know, having those stories and examples and looking at the best practices is really critical.
You can take those best practices and custom tailor them to the state of Georgia.
Of course.
Or even within different areas of Georgia.
Yes, segment it for sure. I'll have to come up with a fun name for it like Virginia did.
Yeah.
So we're seeing rapid adoption in areas like metabolic disease. So that's GLP-1s. For those on TV and, that are listening in, that we've all heard about these GLP-1s. What lessons from fast scaling modalities should Georgia companies internalize on evidence, access, manufacturing?
Well, I think you look at what happened in the GLP-1s. They started as drugs to treat diabetes, get your A1C under control. And they do that very well. And then they realized it was leading to significant weight loss in what seemed to be a safe and very effective way. And not just that, but there's something in the mechanism of action of these drugs that's, seems to be having an anti-inflammatory benefit. And now they're being, explored for addiction disorders, psychological disorders, Alzheimer's, cancer, cardiovascular disease.
Amazing.
Separate entirely from the metabolic improvements from weight loss. So transformative. And what's happening to the prices? Prices are coming down dramatically as they're adopted more. And, we've just seen now pill versions. You've got dozens of programs in development. So that constant innovation, that notion of creative destruction, of, you've got to out-innovate where you're going to lose. That's the essence of kind of this free market system that we have. And we just need to make sure that those medicines, like all others, need to ultimately be accessible by everybody in need.
That was going to be my follow-up to that.
You're seeing it come to that. So, insurers typically wouldn't cover it. Well, they're beginning to cover it, and they need
early stages.
They all need to cover it.
It's going to reduce costs
in the long run, absolutely. But even in the near term, what it will do to improve health in this country and ultimately broadly in the world, it gets to the access question, right? It's not just about the cost of medicines. We have a social contract in our industry. There is a moral obligation that we will make great medicines. And we provide the tools for doctors and nurses to heal. And we need to make sure that everybody has access to these medicines. And if it's bad business practices on our end, then shame on us. And we should address that head on. But there's also the social contract with medical insurance companies. You pay your premium. Or if you can't afford it, it's paid for you. And when you're sick, you get access to medicines. The whole notion of a doctor writing a script and it going to the insurance company for a review. It's like the doctor provides a recommendation to a doctor at an insurance company somewhere who's never seen this patient. And then you get into step edits. Well, okay, we'll approve you, but not for that medicine. We get it's state of the art, but probably 60-70% chance you may do okay on this medicine for cancer.
Oh no, step therapy.
And if it doesn't work, well, then we'll consider whether you get the more advanced medicine. That has to stop. So let's, I've got this vision that we can have. We had 21st Century Cures Act. President Obama signed into law. Bipartisan, Republicans, Democrats, maybe the last major piece of legislation, healthcare for sure, that was bipartisan at the end of 2016, helped this innovation ecosystem a great deal. We need this for access now. So I've got this notion that next up should be a 21st Century Access Act. Look at what are the barriers? Why do people go without their medicines?
Well, it'll force us to
all of it.
Talk, get us all at the same table.
Ask the tough questions.
But that's going to require all of us, I think.
Every one of us.
Our industry and pharma and everybody else, we get blamed for drug pricing, but it is it's systemic. There's a lot of aspects to it.
For so many people, though, the average person, when you talk about drug price, they have no idea list price wholesale, average, the rebate, PBMs, 340B. We don't understand that half the time. What they know is they go to the counter at their pharmacy and the pharmacist says, I need your credit card. It's $500. And they walk away without their medicine. So those economic barriers, out-of-pocket costs. How in the world somebody with your dad with a rare disease, my kids, somebody with a cancer, they've got enough skin in the game. They've paid their premiums. let them have access to the best medicines. And when I talk to our, we could sit here and say, oh, the insurance companies have to pay for it. Well, they should pay for some of it.
Some of it, yeah.
But when I talk to our big pharma companies, our big bio companies, they get it. They get that it's morally the right thing to do. They get that it will create more sustainable businesses in the long run. So economically for shareholders makes sense. Patients first, shareholders, they'll contribute significant margin to address the economic barriers to access. And then there are the systemic barriers, a lot of these step edits and prior auths and the like, that we just have to change that. So let's be bold.
Yeah.
So that's our next big project.
Yeah. And I'm going to get to the last question, which is more fun, but I think there's one piece that I think, especially I'm a native Atlantan, I'm from Georgia. We are an extremely diverse state. We have a very large Black and African American population, of significant Latino population as well. And there's an aspect to all of this. We can lower the prices. We can try and tell a story as best we can. But I think one piece and this is maybe goes to working with patient groups, we have to have the right and the trusted messengers as we build that. And that gets to also working locally. And I think that's a big piece that I think pulls in the public health aspect of it and working with community organizations. But as we tell these stories and advocate for, I don't know, for all the different things we're advocating, because there's a never ending list right now. At the same time, finding those patient allies, those community leaders are going to help tell our story, are going to be a critical piece of helping people have better access to care.
The story, you're right, Maria. The storytelling is so critical to describe what is this great industry of ours? What do we do? Where do we do it again? How do we do it? Who are the people of biotechnology and the people in need? Those whose lives have been saved, cured by the miracles of medicine, and those people who still need hope today.
Yeah. Well, give you one chance. Any comments on PBMs?
We need radical transparency, and we need to delink their economics from the price of medicines. That whole business model, I don't get it. I don't get how it's gotten to where it is. I don't get how they're owned by insurance companies.
Seems like I don't clearly unethical line.
Yes, and here I will tell you, there is strong bipartisan support, and I think support in the White House for radically reform the middlemen in this industry. About half of the cost of medicines, the cost of drugs, don't go to the innovators. Don't go to the discoverers, the risk takers. It gets lost in the system with all the middlemen and redistribution. So let's tackle that.
Yeah. No, it's just important. I wanted to bring it up because we're always sending these messages to our company members, and I don't think they fully understand what it is sometimes because of where they're at in their phase. But
PBMs don't want you to understand their business model.
How would you describe what is a PBM in, say, one sentence?
They are a middleman who take drugs and decide which patients get access. And for that, they charge an enormous fee.
Yes. Well, lastly, so I like to end each interview this way. And we've heard about your family's journey, your professional journey, and of course, your priorities for the industry and bio. And you've even been the focus of a Hollywood movie, which Extraordinary Measures, excuse me. Please check that out. But tell us something most people don't know about you and all your free time.
So I maybe two things. Okay. One, I had mentioned that my son, John, lives with high-functioning autism and married one of Megan's nurses. And because of that, we now have two beautiful grandchildren. So I'm a grandfather, 3-year-old Stella, and now 8-month-old Scarlett.
Little one. Oh, Scarlett.
She's the best. Stella and Scarlett. So that's one. And the other is that one of the great privileges that I've had in life is to wear the cloth of our nation and to serve in the military. So I spent quite a few years in the United States Navy. And after September 11th in the United States Navy Reserve, I was an intelligence officer, and I got to work with some of the greatest warriors that we've ever had, and served in the global war on terrorism and deployed to Afghanistan and other places around the world. So that was a terrific privilege for me.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service, of course.
My great
and your continued service now for our industry. This is amazing. And thanks for joining us today. Yeah.
No, it's been a privilege. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing.
Great. Thanks. No, I will. We'll keep it up. But thank you, everyone, for joining Vitals Podcast, delivered in part by Georgia Life Sciences and Cloudcast Media. This has been a great conversation, John. I look forward to continuing the conversation. And as this political environment continues to be a roller coaster, I hope to have you back in a future capacity. But thanks
again.
Happy
to come back. Thank you, Maria.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.